Hey guys, thanks for joining us today on this beautiful Tuesday. All right. We've got Laura, Darlene, Elias, Linda, Third Eye Trader, Dances on Waves, Fairman in America. Hey guys, thanks for joining us
Awesome
today.
people are on.
Yeah, yeah, and we're so happy to have Shane with us today. So for those of y'all who have not seen Shane's channel, Raw Vegan Rising, I'd highly recommend it. Shane's been such a pioneer in the raw vegan space of just really just making it simple as far as like how do we get back to this diet, this way of being that we're born into this realm to do. You know, we've gotten so far away from what we should be consuming. We've gotten into this space where we're like, oh, well, maybe I should cook all this food. Maybe I should eat these animals and all sorts of other things. But Shane's got a fantastic way of explaining, you know, this is the simple diet. This is the simple truth of how we are to be. And he's done a fantastic job of explaining that process and helping people along the way through coaching and incremental videos and things of that nature. So, Shane, thank you for joining us today. And do you want to give a few words on yourself and introduction there?
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin. Thanks for having me on. It's really an honor to be here with you and Casey. So glad to be here and have this discussion today. Thanks, guys. And hello to everyone who's on already. And hello to everyone who's watching this in the future. I think this video is really in service to helping people understand the simplicity of raw food. People think it's complicated. People think it's extreme. People think it's unnatural, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's really natural and really simple. My approach is to make raw food as normal as possible. Like make it like a cooked food diet. Just have it be normal, have it feel normal so it's sustainable long term. Because what really transforms our life, what really heals us is long-term consistency. Consistency with raw food is going to transform our life. It's going to transform our gut, going to transform our health, our cellular health, our spiritual connection, our divine purpose in life. It's going to open up so many channels and pathways. So just making it simple so we can stay on course. And I always say there's no finish line. Raw food isn't about reaching a destination. It's not a race. It's not a marathon. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're here. We're living our lives. This is about using raw food as a tool. It's just a tool. And it's about consistency. And it's about saying yes. It's about saying yes to the calling every day. We're on this hero's journey in our lives. And it's really about saying, well, okay, I'm eternally flawed. I don't have the answers. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to say yes anyway. I'm going to say yes to myself. I'm going to say yes to natural law. I'm going to say yes to natural foods. I'm going to say yes to a win-win situation for all life. And if we just can say yes day to day, we're recommitting. We don't have to know what the future holds. We don't have to have some destination, nowhere to go. It's about saying yes every day and recommitting to the journey. So that's my message.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. And then, as always, we're joined by Casey, Mr. Vegetable Police as well. So thanks for being here, Casey. And do you want to give
My
any
pleasure.
introductory words to us?
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be part of the Men in Black team here today. We are secret societies, the real secret societies that want you, want good for you. We're not trying to hide nothing. But yeah, I am a percentage of raw food now, a certain percent. It's fairly reasonably high. I've just been experimenting since the juice fast. It went pretty haywire. I have some questions for Shane, because I know he talks about like breaking the fast is the hardest part, and it's the part we have to focus on most. And I'm looking around when I was researching the juice fast, nobody was really talking about how hard it was, or at least for me, it was. I was struggling just with fruit. Like I thought that's how to break it. I was eating mangoes and I'm getting all this discomfort, but took a little while, adapted pretty good. And now my digestion's better than it's ever been. It's so regular, like things are great. And I'm just been experimenting with some fun, interesting things. And I haven't noticed much. Like tofu seems to digest okay in my body. I eat it sometimes. And I had some chickpea pasta the other night. It's a weird, strange food that seems to be okay for me. So I don't know. I want to be raw. I want the magic, but sometimes I don't feel that satiation. So I would like to know a couple things. Like, I guess we should just start with breaking the fast. If you're on a juice fast, like, what is the proper way to do it? Why do people struggle with just fruits? Because it was a nightmare for me, my bloating and like just pain in the gut just from raw fruits.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point, Casey. Breaking the fast is the hardest part. So people come to a juice fast either out of inspiration or desperation, usually. We're either battling some kind of health problem. We're looking for a juice fast to heal us. Maybe we have chronic inflammation of some sort. What led me to juice fasting the first time was chronic dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, which is a skin inflammation issue. So people contact me every day asking, will a juice fast heal me? Will a juice fast work? My mom has cancer. Will a juice fast work? So we're coming to juice fasting to heal us. But juice fasting is a temporary intervention protocol that is best utilized for the pursuit of cleaning out the gut, cleaning out all the waste, the biofilms, the mucus, the plaques that accumulate. If we can do a juice fast one time thoroughly all the way and go the distance, we don't really need to do juice fasting consistently or multiple times, depending on how severe our degenerative conditions are. Really, one time is enough for most people. And I coach people through this. I've seen hundreds of people go through juice fasts. And really, if we can get the biofilms out and the waste that's in there out, that gives us fast bowel transit time. So the bowel transit time is the whole key. If the fruits and the raw foods can move through quickly, they're not going to sit in there and ferment and cause gas and bloating. But the downside of juice fasting is that our gut becomes weak. Our microbiome becomes weak. So it's not ideal. That's why I say it's a temporary intervention, because we got to go kind of into the hole before we can come up out of the hole. And coming out of the hole is the hard part, So really breaking a fast isn't about just eating any kind of specific food. It's about rebuilding the strength of the gut, rebuilding the microbiome on raw foods, ideally. Now, if we can stay raw maybe a year after a juice fast, what is going to happen? We're going to build a gut microbiome that is absolutely built on the soluble fiber and the insoluble fiber of raw fruits and vegetables. Well, holy moly, plus the hydrochloric acid is going to get really, really strong. So then we can digest everything. But that takes at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get to a place where our gut is that strong. And then a whole year, I'd say give it a year before we're really feeling good consistently, where we feel like, wow, I can actually do raw foods consistently. So most people are looking for a quick fix. And that's why most people don't go the distance or don't stick with it afterwards. They feel this gas, bloating, digestive discomfort. Oh my God, when I did my first juice fast, I went 40 days. I got out a huge amount of mucoid plaque, to be honest, like weird stuff coming out. I mean, I really went hard. I was doing really consistent lemon ginger blast style juices, really citrus juices to dissolve out that mucus and biofilm. When I came back to eating solid food, my digestion was so horrible. It was so uncomfortable. I would eat salads. This was like maybe a month or two after my fast. I'd eat salads and I would just lay in discomfort for hours and hours and hours. So instead of saying, all right, this isn't a good, I don't like this discomfort, I'm going to go figure something else out. Let me try, something that digests easy, like potatoes or starches, rice, things like that, which do digest easy. I stuck it out. I said, MFer, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going the distance. I'm going to be raw vegan. And I stayed with it 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, still discomfort, horrible. It was really nasty, but I started to build strength. And I would, instead of backing off of the foods that would create discomfort, like sprouted lentils, for instance, I would eat like a quarter cup, maybe just a couple bites of sprouted lentils, and I would get like horrible gas for like 12 hours. I'd have gas. But I would eat more and more. Instead of backing off the sprouted lentils, I'd eat a cup of sprouted lentils, then 2 cups of sprouted lentils, forcing my body to adapt. And that's what I did. So I always say we've got to work into our weakness. If it's a weak point and we're feeling weak in our digestion, if we work into the weakness, we get strong. Just like going to the gym. We walk into a gym, we look at those weights and we go, oh, I like that. That weight looks cool. We pick it up and we're like, oh, I can't even lift that. It feels heavy. So we got to go all the way down the rack to the little dinky weight that looks stupid, makes you look like a fool lifting the little weight. And we got to work up slowly. So it's kind of embarrassing. It's uncomfortable. It's a blow to our ego, but we don't really want to just play this game of looking good. Like if we're really going to contribute to society, to ourselves, to our future, to our health, we have to get out of this looking good conversation or this staying comfortable conversation and really be willing to risk. We've got to be willing to risk it all, because through the process of risking our identity and what we think is our health, we're going to find our strength. And when I went through my transition to being 100% raw vegan, I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to destroy my health. And I surrendered to it. I said, well, if all my hair falls out and all my teeth fall out and I have bags under my eyes for the rest of my life, so be it, because I want to be raw vegan. And so I had to surrender so much of my identity and my comfort zone and looking good and all of that I was holding on to. It felt like a part of me died. And so I worked into my weakness. I surrendered my identity. I let go of looking good. I really let go completely. And I went, that was my coming out of the hole. It took me really 10 to 12 months before I really started to come out, before my digestion started to feel good. And I remember I made a YouTube video as I had just started my channel. I made a YouTube video where I announced, I was sitting in my car, I think, and I said, today is the day where I know I can be raw vegan long-term. I feel the breakthrough today. The digestion was good. The energy was there. And that was when I knew 10 months. It took me 10 months before I knew I could do it. So are most people willing to go 10 months? I don't know. It's a long road to hoe, So it depends on what we want. We've got to be connected to our vision. We got to know what we're after. We've got to have a plan, So just so you know, I have a bowel detox guide. I think there's a link in the description where I have a video on rebuilding the gut after the juice fast. So it's a whole PDF you can download. It's free, and I've got links to 2 videos in there: how to do a juice fast, why you need to do one, and how to rebuild the gut after a juice fast. And those are, really essential videos that just help people understand going in and out of the hole. So
beautiful.
Was that helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, sorry, Katie, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, go ahead. I do, but
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to comment on I loved how you touched on the sort of eucatastrophe of experiencing this ego death that we kind of all have to go through in order to catapult into the next level of this experience. And so it's beautiful looking at diet and our relationship with food and consumption and playing into that hero's journey that we do have to walk on. We do have to say, you know what? I surrender. I give up this holding on to this physical realm in that sort of capacity. And I surrender to the truth of what is and what I am to become. And what a beautiful experience then to walk it and to truly have that death in essence. So I just wanted to comment on that particular aspect.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious where you got your motivation to want to be raw vegan so succinctly. Like you're just like, I have to be raw vegan. And then I feel like anybody will be willing to put up with pain if they know for sure at the end of the tunnel. I think that's where I struggle. Sometimes I start doubting this path, like, maybe this isn't the path. And then I start looking for other ideas. But like, if you know for sure, but that's like the whole thing with life. It's like, oh, ye with little faith. It's, you have to have faith and then the riches will be yours. But like, what first motivated you?
Yeah, that is a really great question. That's a critical question. It goes back to my childhood because I was really mortified by the state of the world. When I was a teenager coming up in the world as a young man, I went vegan at 17 for the animals, not for health, for the animals, because I saw the death and the struggle on planet Earth and just the abuse happening amongst humans and animals and where humanity was at. I said, no, this ain't no good. I gotta play a part in the healing of this. So I went vegan at 17 and have been working to master a plant-based diet ever since. So I have gone in and out. At about 12 years vegan, 9/11 happened. I was living in Los Angeles by myself. I lost my job. I was laid off from my job because of 9/11. I was on unemployment. I had very little money coming in. I was in survival mode. I was thrust into this survival mode, and I abandoned veganism because my bandwidth was full and I had this survival fear. So I went back into eating meat and being like, I can't handle this. I can't deal with it. It's too much to take on the healing of the world. I'd already been vegan for 12 years. And so it was painful to abandon. But as the time went on, it became more painful to not be in alignment with my truth. I remember sitting at dinner with friends eating chicken saying, you know what, guys, I'm a vegan. I'm eating this chicken right now, but just so you guys know, I'm a vegan who's going against my own values when I eat this. I would have conversations like that. So at one point, I was pursuing personal self-worth growth. I was doing this development workshop with a very talented therapist, and I've been working with her for quite a long time. I gotten to this point where I was at a self-worth layer that I had never been at in my life. I knew I had to claim my self-worth, truly self-worth at a deep level. If I was going to heal myself, if I was going to be the man that I was destined to be in the world, if I was going to address healing the divine masculine on this planet, I've always been interested in that topic. Like, what is the problem that we are experiencing? Why are men and women so at odds with each other? What is the role of the divine masculine on planet Earth? Why are men so abusive to animals? Why are men so abusive in general? War, look at the poverty and the desperation on this planet. I mean, Henry David Thoreau said most men live lives of quiet desperation. Obviously, we are living in desperation. How do we heal this? Well, for me to address that, I had to get in ultimate integrity with myself, which was instantly, I was like, okay, I'm going back to vegan. But now I actually have to find a way to be sustainably vegan for the rest of my life. I don't want to eat animal products ever again the rest of my life. So what do I need to do? I need to eat whole foods only in a way that is truly sustainable at a high level of nutrition. So the message of raw food started to really, really come in. My journey to become a raw vegan was really about becoming the best version of myself and becoming the man that I knew I was destined to be, and playing a role in the healing of humanity, playing a role in the healing of the divine masculine on this planet. So, there's a statistic that men come into emotional, intelligent maturity at around age 43. Well, I was 44. And at age 44, I went raw vegan. I went back to completely plant-based. I'm never going to eat animal products again. That is a personal declaration of mine. So I got to figure this out. I got to be a really healthy vegan long-term. And so it's steeped in what I felt as a child. It's steeped in my mission on this planet. I'm just, I feel like I'm some sort of, what do you want to call it? Like, I don't know, a star seed or light worker. We hear these terms thrown around. I don't feel like I just came here to hang out. I came here to help heal this. We are in a mess on this planet, and we're working toward personal sovereignty, personal responsibility, growth, ascension, awakening, more light on the planet. And so eating more light in the raw foods just makes sense. Let's flood our bodies with the raw living foods and the enzymes and the biophotons, and let's just keep the vibration high, and then maybe I'll have some clarity as to how I can apply myself. And so that's what happened. I started coaching people on how to be plant-based, how to eat more raw food, how to heal, how to juice fast, and take this road of awakening and personal responsibility in our healing. And so that's what's led me to where I am now. And it's really like I stepped into my legacy work. And so being raw vegan is, again, it's the tool. It's not the end result. I'm just using it as a tool to be a badass in my life, to help people, to be at the highest level of responsibility in my life. That's what I want to do. I just need to do raw food to maintain. And it seems weird now for me because I really think of raw food as almost like a normalized baseline. I'm not looking at it as a goal. It's like I have to just be raw to operate at the level I want to operate in the world. So I'm looking at it, how can it be sustainable? I focus on macros, balanced macros, proteins, carbs, and fats. I don't do only fruit. I don't do only fats. I do a balance of everything so it can just be easy and sustainable. So it's about healing. It's about healing myself because the world is inside of me. I'm not going to heal the world if being in the world, I'm going to heal the world through myself. So it's like that love of raw food, the daily choice, the hero's journey of saying yes to the journey. I'm flawed. I'm scared. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what the end result is. I can't know what the end of the journey is. All I can say is I'm committing to the journey today, and it's hard, and I'm scared, and I've got to face my fears. And I'm a man in the world trying to like heal, myself and the divine masculine. I don't know how to do that. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to say yes. So that drives me. That's my big motivator. And I love that question, Casey. I love that question so much because it really touches in on like, who are we? Why are we here? What are we committed to creating? Personal leadership is really about asking ourselves, what are we committed to creating? And being so acutely enrolled in our own vision that everyone else around us is enrolled in who we're being. We don't have to enroll people in our vision. We have to be enrolled in our own vision. And then people are enrolled in who we are. And that's how we make a difference. I think that's how we spread the light, is being just a powerful being. It's our being and our presence that emanates that for others to see. And they can opt in or out. It's like, I don't want to convince anybody of anything. My goal is not to convince people, is to just be who I am, be an example, and to heal myself. So it drives me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love how you touch on the foundational importance of diet. And it's not necessarily a goal to, if we can't necessarily pursue this as the end all be all, as I'm just pursuing this diet for my health or to heal some disease or something like that. It has to be this higher purpose of, I want to start here because I have to build my foundation so that I can pursue those higher realms. And, we've touched on in previous shows how in the Bible, it discusses, Jesus talks to John the Baptist as saying he's the greatest of those in this time. And that's an allegory to say that the 5 lower senses, the physical realm, is the greatest and it has to be pursued first. We have to cleanse the physical body before we can pursue the next realms, the higher realms. And so it has to be foundational. We have to start there in order to even get away from this rooted and being stuck into this physical thoughts and physical reality so that we can go into those higher levels. So I love having that as your higher goal, because if you can pursue that as your purpose and your reason behind it, it just gives a lot more emphasis to it. It has to be foundational. It has to be that first step. So yeah, thanks for touching on that.
I love the, have you guys read the Theessene Gospel of Peace? That book came into my life at around age 30. Somebody literally walked up to me on the street one day and threw a copy into my hand. I'd never met the person, just a stranger on the street came up and threw this to me and said, here, you need to read this. And it was the Theessene Gospel of Peace. And I was like, okay, that's probably a sign. I should probably read it. And that was the first introduction to raw food I ever had. I was 30 years old. It was 2001, I think, or 2002. And so I read that and I remember, and I read it over and over. I got really like, whoa, it like hooked me. And I was like, this is insane. Who eats raw food? Like monks on mountaintops? It's like, I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. And one thing stood out is that when eating the cooked food is like inviting the earthly devils, the devils into the body, the bowels, the Beelzebub and the serpent in the bowels, and then eating raw food is like inviting the earthly angels into the body. And so it's like this internal battle of good versus evil. And yes, I want to invite angels into my body. That sounds good to me, So like not getting hooked into the temptations of the earthly like flesh, and I've done my time. I've eaten lots of junk food. I've eaten animal products. I've done drugs. I've done all that. It's not really my purpose on this planet. So for me personally, I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to incrementally move away from all that, the devils in the bowels and in the body, and start to invite in the earthly angels. I'm really compelled by that. And I like feeling that light shine down on me, and that's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel like there's this like angelic, godly light shining on me. And I like that feeling,
Yeah, and that was the whole reason why we because we asked for this whole experience. We asked for these challenges to be thrust upon us of these physical temptations so that we could overcome these challenges and rise above. And so each one that we could recognize as a temptation, as something to keep us rooted and say, you know what, I've had that experience. I've done it plenty of times. We've probably been around this loop many times. And it's time to move on. It's time to level up. It's time to play the next level up this game. But you can only do that if you fully consciously intend on going the distance and doing that full measure. So yeah, it's
yeah. And I think like, Casey was saying about like having tofu and, some chickpea pasta and stuff. I don't think 100% raw and perfectionism is the goal at all. I think for me, for instance, I'll have a sweet potato just to make sure that I'm in control, just to make sure that my intention is what I'm really after, that my intention is pure and good and strong, because my mindset is my greatest asset. Not perfectionism, not extremism, not dogmatic behavior. That's not going to get me anywhere. So being dogmatic about it is not going to work. It's not the goal, and nobody should approach it like that. And that's why I shy away from, the dogmatic approach of certain sects of raw veganism. It doesn't really speak into the balance or the control of the mindset. So when I have a sweet potato, I'm saying, yes, I'm going to eat this sweet potato with great intention that I prefer raw food, and I'm going to go back to raw food, and I'll have a salad tomorrow night for dinner instead of a sweet potato because I'm in control. And the worst thing we can do is come into a raw vegan diet thinking I'm going to raise my consciousness with raw food, and then feeling shame and guilt that we don't do it right, because shame is the lowest vibrating human emotion. David Hawkins' scale of map of consciousness. I don't know if you guys know that. It's really brilliant. Look it up, the map of consciousness. Shame is the lowest vibrating human emotion that there is. So if we attempt to break free from these paradigms and end up being in more shame, that is the opposite. So then we're playing into the dark forces. We're playing into the magnetism of shame, grief, low vibrating energy. So really it's about intention. Nobody ever climbed a mountain without intention. You don't go up a mountain automatically. Gravity pulls you down automatically. So we have to have intention to go up, put our intention into what we're doing to raise up out of this, default pattern, the default strategies, that we've been taught through society and our parents. We have so much family lineage trauma that we're dealing with, each one of us. Let's give ourselves a little credit. We're born into these bodies with like massive amounts of trauma that's imprinted in our cells. And so we have a lot of inertia to overcome, and we need a lot of intentionality to overcome this, scarcity and survival and fear and victimhood, like we don't have any control over this situation, and looking good and staying safe. These are all these survival drifts that we've been in for thousands of years. So if we're going to be pioneers, if we're going to bust through this paradigm and create a new version of reality, then we've got to put our intention into it. So there's no perfectionism in intention. It's just about being intentional and being really conscious about what we're doing and loving ourselves through every single step, because we can't be in shame. We have to at least be courageous. On the map of consciousness, courage is where we flip into intentionality. Everything below is a brilliant thing, David Hawkins. But courage is where we start to become intentional. So courage is what we want to have. And what's interesting is we cannot get to courage except through fear and anger. So fear turns into anger. Anger turns into courage. So really, anger is actually a very powerful human emotion. And when we channel it correctly, we can get out of complacency and become intentional. And Casey asked me, why are you so committed to being raw vegan? Well, I've had a lot of anger. I've had a lot of anger at the world for being so effed up. I hate the way the world is. So instead of directing that anger toward myself, and instead of directing that anger toward others, or even toward the world, and the evil systems, instead of like putting my anger there, I'm going to put my anger toward being courageous and building my own life force. And that's what I've done. And I've used my anger to get out of complacency.
Yeah, that's alchemy. And that's how we transmute these lower vibrational emotions and transmute them into the higher ascending ones. So when you talk about judgment and shame, and how these things can creep in, we begin to transmute them and say, okay, I recognize this for what it is. And I recognize this because people will often ask me, like, is it okay if I eat this? Is it okay if I eat that? It's like, well, it's okay. You can eat anything. Like it's okay for you to eat anything, but just recognize what it will do. So it just depends on where you want to go. But don't eat it and judge yourself, or don't even have that desire and judge yourself for the desire. Because when you start to invite those sorts of things in, and it adds on those layers, well, you're just keeping yourself down at that level. So just see the experience for what it is. And I love how you put it as conscious intent, because if we recognize that I'm going to eat this potato and I'm going to be consciously intentional about how it's going to feel and what's going to cause from it, then we can measure that experience and either choose to continue having it or choose to continue moving on from it. But it's not this unconscious, just going through the motions of just eating and consuming things without even thinking about it, because that was the habit that we were in before. So yeah, I love how you touched on that. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole raw food community. Like, there's no one diet that everybody seems to agree on. Some people say fruit is the highest vibrational food and we should be shooting towards fruitarian, but you're more, I know, like, you've been on that level, and then you're now on like this higher fat version. I've seen in some of your videos, you're saying that, Shane, that you think like a little bit more raw fats and proteins are better for you right now. Like, they're all healthy, all raw foods, like it's all here for us. And you, like, for me personally, I've been trying some hemp seeds lately, and they've been digesting well until I went a little overboard with it. I had about 6 tablespoons of hemp seeds the other day, and just digestion halt, completely just halted for a bit. And I was like, okay, I overdid it. I overdid that. How do you digest this fat?
Yeah, it's really true. So nobody agrees on any one raw vegan diet. It's so interesting. I think we have to find what works for our constitution, depending on where we're at with our health and where we live geographically in the world. If we're up in like Norway or something, it's not going to be easy to be fruitarian. So there is just doing our best. And specifically with fats, I found in my experience that it was like going through a second transition. I was 80-10-10 for about a year and a half because I had to heal chronic dandruff. It was horrible. It was so embarrassing. I wouldn't be able to wear a black t-shirt. So I was really focused on healing the dandruff, which I've come to learn was chronic acidosis. It was a buildup of waste. What we're not eliminating, we're accumulating. And that waste was creating inflammation in my skin. And so I had to detox all of that out through juice fasting and 80-10-10, strict 80-10-10 for a year and a half. It was not easy being 80-10-10. I didn't like it at all. And when I started to bring in more fats, it was really like a second transition to raw food. I had to relearn how to digest fats. It was very uncomfortable. And the first sensations I noticed was that it made me tired, made me sluggish, made my digestion feel slow and poor. And what I've come to realize now, and I eat lots of fats, is that it's almost just like it's just a transition. We've got to get our gut adjusted to the fats, and it adapts pretty well. So in my opinion, we want to be strong in our bodies. We're here in physical form, okay? Yes, it's good to have our head in a higher dimension. Yes, but we're also needing to have our feet on the ground, because we are the interface of where transformation is going to happen. This body is a sacred vehicle. It's a sacred temple. So if we're going to change the world, if we're going to really work toward higher consciousness, if we're really going to help the animals, if we're really going to make a difference, if we're going to heal humanity, heal the divine masculine, it's going to happen with this body. Not just because of our thoughts, not just because of higher frequency, yes, that, but in the body. So my focus is making the body strong. I like to lift weights. I'm probably about 180 pounds, 15% body fat, 6'2". I'm lean, I'm strong, I'm tall, like if you stand next to me, I'm a big guy, and I'm 100% raw vegan because I want my body to be strong. I want to exemplify masculinity, strength, proper hormones. I lift weights so I got good testosterone in my body so I can think like a man, be a man, because I'm here to heal the masculine. I'm in a man's body. So fats are key to that equation for me. I have to eat fats. And it's just how I see, So for instance, I've been doing chia seeds. I've been making chia pudding, and I've been upping the chias because it's like really high in protein, high in omegas, really good. So I've been yesterday, I had 16 tablespoons of chia seeds.
Nice.
Which is a lot. And it's very satiating. So, and I'm having it with fruit and some greens, so I'm working in superfoods in my smoothies too. I have a lot of superfoods pre-workout in my pre-workout smoothies. And then focusing on the chia seeds for that protein and the good omega-3s, because as a vegan, I got to make sure I got fats, and so I'm looking for the result in my body. I want my body to be exceptionally strong, exceptionally healthy, and I can feel when I'm strong. I just hit 225 on the bench press, which is a personal record. I've been working toward that for years. Only 1% of men can bench press 225 pounds. So I have just crested into the elite class of strength for men, 1%. And it's taken me, I've been working on it consistently for, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. And so it's a big goal to go for that strength level and to hit it. I could not do that without 16 tablespoons of chia seeds. And the Aztecs, have used chia seeds, of course, for energy. That's what they said that the chias would give them, is energy. Well, that's what I experienced too. It's like that vitality comes from the right balance of fats. I think that we have got to look to whole food for the keys here, because when we look at a food like chia, it's about half protein and it's like 30 grams of fat for 15 grams of protein, essentially. In the quantities that I've been doing, like half protein to fat. And I think that's a good ratio. We don't need high protein. When I go for strength, our fitness, the medical narrative says we need this high protein for strength. That just burdens our kidneys. It just burdens our digestion. I don't focus on protein at all. I'm a raw vegan. I focus on the whole food balance, like chia seeds, and I focus on flax seeds and hemp seeds, and really focus on high carbohydrates for energy. And that's what I think gives us that edge. So if we can't digest fats easily, I would say go for a second transitional type of approach. Like say, okay, I'm dedicated to being strong, to being healthy, to having good digestion, to being robust. I've got to have be able to handle that volume. So let me take on the volume. That's why I'm up to 16 tablespoons of chia seeds in a day, because I've built up. The first time I had like a lot of chia pudding, I got constipated. I'm a raw vegan for years and I still get constipated. So it's like, we got to build up to it, So I think our body gives us the clues.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because doing this 90-day juice fast, I'm definitely I've lost quite a bit of strength doing that, the high carb, going low fat. Initially I got a boost in strength. And I was like, okay, so I had built all this muscle before, and then I lost a bunch of fat doing the juice fast. And then I was at this peak condition where I have all this muscle, not much body fat. I'm doing things I could never do before, and things were great. But as it progressed past day 59 of the juice fast, I could no longer do my one arm pull up. And I was like, oh, okay, there, it just disappeared. And then I haven't been able to do it since. And so I noticed that when I was 80-10-10-ish for a long time before, it wasn't until I switched to the high fat vegan diet did I start having all this energy and wanting to work out and then just going for it and staying consistent. And I was able to build strength and feel good. So it's something about I agree with you. It's not the protein, because I used to track and I'm looking, it's maybe 80 grams of protein a day. Like it's not a ton, but it was the fats that seemed to do something hormonally to build the muscle. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, hey, I want to congratulate you on how many days did you go on your juice fast?
It was 90 days.
Wow, that is a real juice fast. That's an incredible exercise, man. Well, congratulations for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good work. I'd say, rebuilding the gut after a 90-day juice fast is no small feat. It's a monumental task, and you're going to be coming out of the hole for quite a long time. Give yourself a long runway. If you want to be strong, if you want to get to, build your strength back up, give yourself a long runway. This takes years. Like I said, 5 years I've been working to bench 225. It takes time. And for me, when I'm talking about hormones, I think what I focus on is for stimulating hormones the most is taking large muscle groups in my body to failure. So I'll squat, barbell squats, put weight on my back, and squat until my legs fail. Put weight on my chest and press until my chest fails, and back muscles, big muscle groups, compound movements that stimulates hormones in the masculine physique for sure. Women too, though. Women are always afraid that if they lift weights, they're going to get bulky, but that's not what happens. It actually stimulates hormones. So stimulating hormones is not just diet, it's physical activity and exertion. I mean, use it or lose it is, like our ancestors were designed to carry heavy loads over long distances, and exert ourselves. I mean, when we're talking about, like bone density, we've got to lift weights for bone density. It stimulates bone density growth, stimulates our hormones. So yes, fats are key for energy and balance, and also putting our body under resistance and getting strong. So that combination, though, is really what's phenomenal. And not only that, but it gives us the mindset control, because if we start our day, for instance, with a good workout, it sets us up to win. There's no question about it. Tony Robbins talks about the hour of power. I mean, every thought leader, every coach in the history of the world talks about starting our day with exercise, because it gives us that time to focus on ourselves, to get prepared in the mind, and it's like, it's really it's a mindset boost to lift heavy weights, and you get tons of benefits in so many ways. So that is one of the secrets to my success. I love it. I got bit by the weightlifting bug accidentally about 12 years ago. I never in a million years would have thought I would have been into it. And I tried it because I gained weight. I got up to like 200 pounds. I was stressed out and working too much. And I had kids. I had a 2 and a 4-year-old. And I was like this perfect example of a stressed out, overworked young dad. And I got up to 210 pounds. Can you imagine me at 200 pounds? I was overweight. And I tried to fix it by going to the gym, and everybody said, well, exercise. So I started for the first time in my life ever. I never lifted weights once in my life. And I started to bench press, and I started to squat, and I did compound movements at the gym, and it just blew my mind. I got hooked. That was before I was ever raw. But I was starting to really come back into personal leadership and ownership of my life. I was running a very successful business at the time. I was making about $750,000 a year with this business. And I was running, and I had a new family, and I had a lot of expenses and a lot of responsibilities, and I had kids to raise and a wife to provide, a house and cars. I had 2 new cars in the driveway and credit card debt to pay, and like this whole thing. I was running this huge business. I had a big staff of like 7 people. And that's what really made me say, okay, I can't mess around. I got to like be in alignment. I can't like let the stress ruin my life here. So that's when health, and it was my path to, I quit alcohol, caffeine, tobacco. I started to get back on the vegan diet at that point, came back into alignment with raw foods, and here I am today. So it really has like been a path. It's been like a 10-year journey, to get to where I am now, but it takes time.
Would you say you've noticed, like, have you experimented with days where you will consume less fats and worked out, then do you notice a substantial difference in the amount that you can do? Like, have you kind of experimented with that to see playing around with quantities?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah, a couple years ago, I was doing like I would do all fruit days and actually and work out and see how my lifts were at that time. For sure, I need fats. For sure, I need fats to lift heavy weight. It goes without. I can't do it without it. And more importantly, though, is that I think it's not about day to day. I don't see differences in day to day so much. It's more like over time.
Hmm.
So I really try not to focus on the day. Like I might have an all fruit day or no fats in a day, although not so much these days. I've been raw vegan for 4 years, and I really have done a lot more of the experimenting in previous years. Even last year or the year before, year 2 or 3 for me, I was experimenting with like all fruit days and no fats. And then the next day I'd have fats again and do like day-to-day experiments. But now I'm looking at like longer arcs of consistency. And so I would say more like 4 to 6 month periods of time I would focus on a given thing. If I was going to go low fat, I wouldn't even look for changes for at least a couple months. But I'm not going to do that because I know what's worked for me, and I've done so much experimenting. Going raw vegan is like being a pioneer. It's like really, it's taking risks and it's surrendering to the path that unfolds before you, and it's trusting and it's staying open and being spontaneous and committed at the same time. Being spontaneous and committed is hard to do. How to create from uncertainty. That's one of the keys of personal leadership. If we're going to be exceptionally successful in life, we've got to learn how to create from uncertainty with shifting sands beneath us, like riding a wave. It's going to move around, but we're here, creating what we are committed to, creating that personal leadership and being committed to our vision here in the present moment, regardless of the shifting sands. There's a saying I love, which is hold the vision, not the circumstance. So whatever we want to create in life, it comes from our vision. First and foremost, I believe it 100%. Doesn't matter if we're talking raw food, doesn't matter if we're talking money, success, relationships, whatever it is, it comes from our vision. Our vision creates reality. And if we focus on the circumstance, like the details, the mechanisms, then we lose it. We lose the vision. So we have to stay in the vision if we want to be successful. That's why I'm a successful raw vegan. It's because I stay in the vision. I don't worry about the details of macros in this food and that food. I just don't. I just focus, I'm going to be raw vegan. I hold the vision. And that's why I'm successful as an entrepreneur too, because I just hold the vision. Whatever I want to create, I'm not going to worry about how I get there. I'm just focused on, I'm getting there,
It's interesting. You've struck a nice balance, Shane, because I noticed in the like raw vegan community, it seems to be like this spectrum of you go higher on the fruits, you become more spiritual, but you also lose most of your body mass. So you're leaning towards like very spiritual in the mind, but body very skinny and weak. But you still manage to have kept your spirituality, it seems. Like you're still a very high level functioning. You want the best for the world still, but you're able to root yourself in this physical body and still have the strength and energy. It's interesting. You've done well. Well done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's a big compliment, actually. And I really let that in. I really accept that because it is my goal and it's hard to do. And yes, we get caught up in the dogma of raw food and fruitarianism specifically. And having high consciousness through fruit is great, but at the expense of the body is not a good equation for me. It just isn't something that I want to do. So yeah, I really cringe a lot at seeing raw vegans with low body mass. I just don't like that because we've got to be capable leaders. And if we're going to be a capable leader, we have to have a robust physicality. We've got to anchor in the paradigm that we want through the body, like I was saying. So the body's a sacred divine vehicle. And I just think treating it well, treating it with respect, treating it how it needs to be treated. It's not easy to go into the gym and lift weights. Nobody wants to do that, but it gets the results. And so going after the results, I'm results-based. Like as an entrepreneur, it's results. It doesn't matter how hard I work. I'm not interested in how hard I work. I'm interested in whether I'm getting the results or not. So that applies to raw food. I'm not interested in what it takes. I just don't care. I'm interested in the results. Can I get the results? Can I have a strong body and be 100% raw? What does that take? Because I'm after the results.
Yeah, and I think just getting clear on what you really want too, and that's for each of us to decide on an individual path, like what do we want to pursue, and that's why having this, getting away from relying on, experts and people in the medical community or whatever else to tell us how to be and how to consume and how to pursue health, but to actually go on that experiment yourself and say, okay, I'm going to eat this or consume this way for this amount of time and see what happens to my body, see what happens in this sort of way. And then, and then you come out like Shane has on the other end and say, okay, this is my balance. This is what I want to pursue. And this is how I want to move forward. But it's really taking that ownership and assuming responsibility for each of our paths in this experience instead of relying on someone else to choose for us. And that's really what we're all doing right now as we're kind of going through this awakening process, is assuming that responsibility and saying, you know what, I recognize that I am a sovereign. I recognize that I am a child of God, and therefore I have a responsibility to take ownership of this meat suit that I'm using for the time being, and to utilize it in the best way possible so that I can pursue this experience in the way that expands my creative abilities to the best of their abilities, and not just blindly walk through life, as a zombie and let others choose for me, because either choose or it will be chosen for you. And that's where we have to step in and make that choice.
Oh, I love that. It is so true. Yeah. I say it all the time when I coach people. I just share about myself because I can't expect people to reach the level that I've experienced. But I always say we've got to be radically self-referencing. Like there's no authority outside of us. There is no one that's going to tell us what the answer is. No one's going to show us the way. There is no guru. There is no expert. There is no leader outside of ourselves. We look at the politicians and the leaders and the doctors in our world. They have nothing. They got nothing. It's like we got to dig deep, and I always say the person with the biggest vision wins. If we are not enrolled in our own vision, we're going to get enrolled in somebody else's vision. That's what advertising on television is. That's what marketing is. I mean, people advertise gooey cheese pizza on the TV. Well, that's enrolling you in that vision, and we're enrolled in the pharmaceutical vision and the C and the V that's going on right now. We're enrolled in those visions by other people, and it has nothing to do with us, because if we just go inside, we're going to, in our sovereignty, we have access to all information and all truth and all action plans and what we need to do next and all direction and all information that's inside of us. I believe that 100%. I live my life that way. And sometimes it feels radical, like the level of surrender and risk feels flippant, almost like dangerous, but that's what risk is. It's like living on the edge and being willing, 100% in with yourself. Not like, oh, I'll listen to myself 50% of the time, but there's some experts out there that really have some information that I need to hear. They're going to have the answers for me. I better listen to the institutions at large in our world that give me that information. No, 100% in. It's how I live my life.
Yeah, and you touch on risk, and it really comes down to, at least for me, it's that trust in the divine, trusting that we're all connected to this one singular consciousness, God, creator, whatever you want to term for it. And that singular consciousness, all it wants to do is to expand and create. And so when we get out of our way, when we trust and we're willing to take those risks and say, hey, I surrender to this, then it allows God to move everything out of our way, all the difficulty, and to push us into this space of maximum abundance. Because that's all this one infinite consciousness wants to do, is to create and expand. And so if we let it, then we're always going to be led to that space of maximum potential. And so that's where we get out of that mind chatter and coming up with all these excuses of why I can't do something or why I can't take that leap of faith, because every time we do, we're always rewarded. The rewards are built into it. And it's just this constantly reciprocating, always expanding game that we get to play. And we just have to figure out the cheat codes for it, or the ways that, figure out the handbook, and the rest figures itself out.
Yeah,
That's
love that.
interesting, Justin. I like how you say that. Just that God wants you to create. You're supposed to evolve the message. If like I've been guilty of trying to find my health gurus for years and looking for their message, and what's the big man up there thinking when it's like, oh, you read that book? Like he already did the message. So that's his work. You're not evolving his plan. So I'm trying to like listen to my body now and not follow any 80-10-10 perfect protocol, or I did the juice fast. Okay, like try to go inside, and I'm just experimenting with different foods, seeing how they, like I know now how certain foods digest in my body. Like for some reason, a block of tofu glides through me like nothing, but 6 tablespoons of hemp seeds stop the train for a bit. So it's like, okay, why? I don't know, but we're learning stuff. It's good. But yeah, I think I do want to have my own protocol. I've always wanted to like develop something that everybody could follow, but it's not going to work like that. We're all very different, and some people thrive on just fruits, and not everybody wants to build muscle. They have no desire for that. And that's fine. Like nobody has to do anything. You follow your own path, and yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, and even if you want to consume flesh and consume animal products, like you can do that, but just know the parameters and how this creation is set up. You will experience the karmic repercussions of that. You will experience pain and suffering, and that's so it's all a choice. We get to choose what level of experience we want to have, whether this is constantly constantly reciprocating karmic lessons, constantly experiencing that sort of painful reminders of like, hey, you should probably get back onto this path because it's a little bit easier to follow that way. Or you can just say, you know what, screw that, and I just want to experience the painful reminders all the time. I just want to keep going around that wheel and whatever else. But it's all free will. Free will is absolute. We get to choose what level of experience we get out of this. It's just part of the game.
I had an interesting conversation. I went to this kind of anti-lockdown rally in Toronto. We have them every Saturday, so just a bunch of us get together. I've only been to 2 of them, but it's nice to talk with people who get it. They're not just wearing masks everywhere. It's just nice to be with some normal people. And I was talking to somebody, he recognized me from my channel, and he was asking me what diet am I on now, because I've changed so many times. And I was like, oh yeah, I just did a juice fast. I'm doing this. And I was like, how about you? And he's like, oh no, I don't do any of that. It's whatever goes for me. Like, and it was interesting just that he was on a different level. Like he wasn't caring about health so much. And he'd never had any serious health condition that would motivate him out of that. Like, I get that. Like, I'm motivated partly by pain. I don't want to experience that stomach pain. So I'm not going to fall back to these levels of processed foods and re-injure myself again. So like, I know I'm eating healthy because I don't want to experience that. Whereas he has no real reason right now to not avoid these delicious processed foods that are addictive. And he's a little overweight, but he's not in pain. So it's just fascinating. I almost feel lucky that I had this ulcerative colitis and that led me to this path. But we have to remember, not everybody is caring at all about health or anything. They just, I want to eat. Like, but this is normal. Let's have hamburgers and fries, and who cares?
Yeah, well, maybe that's where that they're not quite on that part of their journey. They're dealing with some other sort of lessons before they come to that realization. And so we're all presented just with the perfect opportunities at the perfect right timing to give us that catalyst to say, you know what, I want something different. I want to make a change, or I'm going to ignore it and continue feeling that loop. But it's all here for us. There's nothing, getting out of that victim mentality that things are happening to me. No, everything's happening for me. Everything's happening for the perfect opportunity so that I can rise above or not. I get to choose.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Everything is an opportunity, and health problems are really just one of the ways the universe shows us that we're out of alignment. And it's trying to get us back into alignment, get us on our purpose. We have like a divine purpose. And when we're not listening, the universe is like, you're so dense, it's like, let's make life really get painful to just nudge you back onto the path. So everything is an opportunity to get us back onto path, no matter how much pain we have, no matter how much discomfort we're experiencing in life, traumas and, crazy breakdowns in our life. It's really just nudging us back onto our path. So it's beautiful. We have to look at the world as everything is conspiring on our behalf. That's personal leadership. If we're looking at like anything is happening to me, we're playing the victim, and it will never get us into alignment, and we'll always be a victim. So I live my life that way for sure. So key.
Shane, I want to give you a chance to plug any of your programs or your group or site or anything like that. So if you want to cover that and then give any closing comments, that would be wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thank you so much for spending the time with me and inviting me on. I really appreciate it. Love talking with you guys. My Raw Vegan Heroes group is probably the best detox and juice fasting support that exists. I don't know if there's anything is better, because it's like a monthly membership. It's really cheap. You can come in and get support from so many other people from around the world who are doing juice fasting and detoxing. It's an incredible community. It feels like a movement. Now, some of the people in the group are like lifers. They have identified with Raw Vegan Heroes and they've taken on the mission, and they are going to be in there for life. And then some people come in, try it for a month and leave. But the cool thing is it's like this soul tribe feeling, so I would suggest, if you're a raw vegan, if you're interested in it, if you need to do a juice fast or detox, try Raw Vegan Heroes and see. It's a very low expense to try it. It's $14.99 a month. You can sign up yearly and save some money. There's a discount if you sign up for the year. But I have my bowel detoxification guide. Everything I know about juice fasting, rebuilding the gut after a juice fast, I've compiled into a PDF document that's free. I give it away to people because that's how I can serve people and help people. I've had like 4,000 people download this document from my website in the last 3 months. It's very popular. So I'd highly recommend doing that. The link is in the show notes for that.
Yes.
It's called How to Do a Juice Fast, Why You Need to Do One, a guide on bowel detoxification. It's a free PDF. So download that and look at what it takes to start the process of detoxification. Because as we detox cellularly, we are going to raise our frequency and be naturally led to higher vibrational foods. Detoxing is the key. Casey rocked it with his 90-day juice fast. It's awesome to juice fast. And so if you follow my protocol that I've outlined after working with hundreds of people, it just makes it simple. You don't have to question things. And then if you join Raw Vegan Heroes during your juice fast support time, when you're doing the fast, you get all your questions answered. You don't have to feel alone. Anytime you're up against the wall, you can talk with 300 other people that are currently in the group detoxing. And that way, because juice fasting is a time commitment, it is a expense. There's a money commitment because you're buying produce and a juicer and all this stuff. The least you can do is give yourself that accountability and support to make sure you get the most out of your fast, to make sure you get the mucoid plaque out, to make sure you're getting the biofilms out, so that when you're done, you're confident now moving forward that you can rebuild the gut for optimal digestion and utilization, getting to the place like where I'm at now, where you can look good, feel good, be strong, have a balanced diet, and have it be easy. So I think juice fasting is the first step. That's why I have my bowel detox guide. That's why I have my Raw Vegan Heroes group. So this is my service work in the world. This is my legacy work. I stepped into it at 44 years old. I'm 48 now, and I feel like I finally got the calling. It's a great blessing to be on purpose and on mission in my life. This is how I want to serve the world. This is how I want to show up and help heal and be a message and a light of hope, that we don't have to be controlled by the medical narrative. We don't have to be controlled by anything. That we have the power within us. It's through detox. It's through natural food. So it's a big journey to get past our own fears. But once we make some effort and we have some breakthroughs, it gets easier, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, joyful journey. Detoxification really is a beautiful, beautiful, natural journey. It doesn't have to be hard. It's just so beautiful. I'm so grateful for every detox symptom I've ever felt on my raw vegan journey, because it has gotten all that out. When we get the toxins out, every detox symptom is a lightening of our load, and then we become more connected and feel better. So it's hard and beautiful at the same time. And isn't that the metaphor of life? It's like sometimes we got to do the hard temporarily to get to the breakthrough. So that's what I support people with.
Beautiful. Thanks, brother. Appreciate all you do, and appreciate you, recognizing that path of service and stepping onto it. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being on with me, guys. Justin and Casey, thank you so much. And everybody who's watching this today or in the future, love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, we love y'all. Casey, did you have any closing comments you want to give?
Oh, just thank you, Justin, for being the ever gracious host you are. And I love talking with you, and I love how you put these together. And thanks, Shane, for coming on. I got a lot out of this. So I'm going to probably rewatch it again, because I know I already forgot there was two like epiphany moments there where I was like, oh, that's so I already forget them. So it's good times. I'm like a goldfish. It's just in and out. But yeah, just keep on doing your health journey and just don't judge yourself. Like, I've eaten healthier before. I'm on a different level now, but it's more fun. So I'm having a little fun right now. And then I get back on the path, and it's just like cleansing. Just go back to that. Know your cleansing is the way, but have a little fun here and there, and don't beat yourself up, and you'll get there eventually. And it does get easier. Like Shane says, like in the beginning, it's detox symptoms and you might be super itchy and fatigued all the time. And eventually you're going to get to a place where you're energized most of the time. And now you're a normal functioning human being, and you can live life, and you enjoy doing this instead of it feeling like a chore where you're like, oh, I got to eat healthy. I got to juice. Oh, this sucks. Like, now I love my green juice. I can't wait to eat that. And most of my meals are just fantastic. So it gets better. Just stick to it. You'll get there.
Nice.
Awesome
Love
message.
Love it. Yeah, well, brothers, I really am honored to share this space with you. I'm so honored to share this time and this show with you guys. It's been such a beautiful conversation, and we talk about healing the divine masculine. This is how we do it. This is how we step into that role and say, you know what, enough is enough, and it's time to take a little bit of ownership and to empower ourselves, and that's what we're here to do. And yeah, as Casey said, you can rewatch these episodes. That's why it's beautiful to have them stored. We've got all 7 episodes still up on the channel for now. And they're always great reference points. And it's great bringing on different people with different perspectives, because then we can really take a balanced approach to say, this works for this person, this works for that person. But ultimately, I have to decide what works for me. I have to decide what works best for me, and to step into that and truly empower myself to do that. So just keep that in mind as we go through this journey, but we're going to keep pursuing. We're going to stay on this quest for true health, and appreciate y'all for being here. And I love you both, and I love everyone here. So thank you. And we'll talk to y'all next time.